Hi, I'm Randall. I grew up along the coast of Maine, and that's where my love of the ocean started. I sailed over 10,000 miles in my 20s, and after hanging up my Fowlies, I rediscovered my love of the bicycle. Both cycling and sailing connect me to nature and give me a sense of freedom and adventure. Now, I'm going to try to combine the two. I bought this old sailboat with the goal of sailing it to the Caribbean and then to Europe to do some epic sailing and exploring by bike. But first, I've got to refit and modernize this big old classic, and I've got my hands full. I'm going to learn a ton of the process and have a little fun along the way, and I hope you come along for the ride. It's hard to believe that the last episode I put out on my boat was over 3 months ago. The spoiler is that it's been a really great few months making progress, fixing and renovating, but the downside is that it's pulled me away from editing and releasing updates. We left off last time when I brought the boat down to Newport, Rhode Island, and discovered that I had had a stuffing box leak that had me take on about 40 gallons of seawater. If you're interested to learn a little bit more about the stuffing box, I did an episode with Walter Schultz where we go through a little bit of what's wrong with this design and what you should know about your stuffing box. There's a link here up above, and I'll also link to that video in the description below. I forgot to mention a few things before that trip that I think are worth mentioning. One, my boat was at a dock for the winter, and one of my bow lines chafed and broke free during a pretty sizable storm. I had bow lines in each direction, but I hadn't doubled up on them, and nor did I have a chafing guard. And so here is how that went. I had to come down to the cabin just because it's howling like crazy outside. We've got a big storm been moving through. Welcome to New England in January. It's blowing about 30 steady. We had gusts up to 55, 60 miles an hour. This is going to be one of those things that I file under learn the hard way. So I did not double up on all of my bow lines, and as a result, one of them chafed on my starboard side. It chafed, cutting the actual bow line. So I'm supposed to be floating between 6 piers or vertical pilings. Let me show you the resulting. This guy. So yeah, this was my bow line. It was tied up through that. Yeah, I have since set it up with 3 bow lines stretched over to this pier. So it's together. And 2 more midship and aft. And here we go. Got from there. So, learned that one the hard way. If anyone else out there has made the same mistake, double up on your bow lines. I've got now I got triple on the starboard side, double on this one. I'm a little disappointed in myself because now I'm gonna have to do a little bit more with this spring to make it all right. Just want to take a second and say thank you to our newest Patreon supporters. Without your support, this production just wouldn't be possible, so thanks very much. The second thing before my trip to Newport was that my generator was shutting off and not charging the bilge pump batteries in the V-berth. I'd been periodically running the generator to charge the bilge pump batteries, and then one day, after about 10 minutes, it unexpectedly shut down. I restarted it, only to have it shut down again after about 30 seconds. It didn't seem to be a fuel or electrical problem because then it wouldn't have restarted. So I grabbed my infrared thermometer and I discovered that it was hitting 195 degrees, which is close to the overheat cutoff. I also noticed that the cooling water output was really weak, and that is satisfying because I had been kind of paying attention to the different outputs, whether it's the main exhaust or the generator coolant. Removing the top of the raw water strainer confirmed I had low flow.
Prostate ain't what it used to be.
Which meant there was some type of blockage between the strainer and the through hull. Since I don't have an external filter, I was a bit puzzled, so I had a helper come by with a compressed air tank to see if we could blow out the hose. Step 1 is blow out the hose, pump in some air to reverse the direction. Maybe it would blow out something, whether it's shells or whatever. What's really funny here is if you look closely, you can actually see the problem, but because the camera can see better than you can with your eyes, we didn't notice it right away. So even if you're not making YouTube videos, it does help to have a small camera to put on things just to give you that unobstructed view. Step 2 would be reattach the hoses and then check the flow. We had a decent chuckle because that didn't do the trick. Step 3, we were scratching our heads for a bit, talking about it back and forth. At least we were getting flow out of the hose at this point. It just didn't seem possible that there was anything in the elbow that was stopping it. But that was the last piece of the puzzle, so we blasted it and then cleaned it out, and sure enough, there was enough in there to make a nice little seaweed salad. I think the thing to keep in mind, to keep it simple, is just don't have any sharp bends or angles between the through hole and the strainer. And that just made my to-do list. That fixed the water flow, but now the generator was not putting out any power to the breaker panel, nor the outlets, which is the critical part, because that's how this convoluted system is set up to charge the V-berth batteries, which power my main bilge pump. After doing some reading online, a common issue with these generators is that they either have the circuit breaker flipped, or a fuse burned out, or a relay burned out. I was really hoping that it would be as simple as just flipping the reset switch on the breaker on the generator, but that didn't work. I tried to cover all my bases, and I bought a set of fuses and a set of relays. And so I popped each one of the fuses and relays in one at a time, and then would restart the generator each time to see if there was any output. And to my disappointment, none of the fuses or the relays were the culprit. Because the generator was not a simple, quick fix, once I got the boat down to Newport, I decided, you know what, let me just simplify this whole thing. So I wired the bilge pump directly to the house batteries. That way there's no pressure for me to get the generator going, and I can just enjoy the boat. That's kind of how I want to leave this episode. It may seem like there's a lot of frustration and anxiety around it, but as I get further into ownership, I'm learning to do what Walter Schultz advises, which is to relax and just enjoy the boat. I enjoyed the rest of the summer with friends and family and the occasional drive-by. And sometimes you just have to jump into the nice summer water and scrape off your shamefully encrusted propeller, drive shaft, and hull. This first year or so of ownership has been a really interesting ride. There's been plenty of learning for me as a rookie, and it's not always comfortable. You have to get accustomed to feeling a little in over your head, but I will say when you allow yourself to relax and get the basic safety stuff taken care of, what you'll get is pretty magical. It's a place to gather with friends and family, and a vehicle for everyone to experience some fun and adventure, whether that's a sunset or the cozy sound of the rain. It's very, very pretty and quiet and relaxing. It's kind of nice for a Saturday. The next episode, and probably 10 after that, are going to get really busy because I'm about to take the boat north, haul it, and get really deep into some refit and renovation. It's pretty exciting and can't wait to get you caught up. And again, thanks to our Patreon supporters, because without your support, this show really wouldn't be possible. Thanks very much.